Everybody in here is dry, right? We're good? Got through it? Okay. Sounds like it's really coming down.
I hear, it sounds like air conditioning to me, but it could be the rain.
Oh, yeah, yeah. That was,
We had a public works board earlier where we just had to hurry up and get through everything in 5 minutes.
ooh, the red part right there? Oh,
Or maybe
okay.
Now I hear the rain.
Yeah, yeah. It'll be all right.
there's the full sound, there's the whooshing and there's the, they're both there. Hey, there we go.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. It is August 18th, 2026. Lake Mill City Council. I'd like to call the meeting to order. If I could have a roll call, please, Sam.
Ms. Curler,
Here.
Ms. Schmager,
Here.
Ms. Quidnow,
Here.
Mr. Coots,
Here.
Mr. Bartlett.
Here.
If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thanks. Our first item on the agenda this evening is the correction and acceptance of our City Council meeting minutes from August 4th, 2026. Any corrections to note? Did you want to, Jim, did you want to, were your edits corrected prior to the meeting? I think you said you had.
I got nothing.
Jim shared he had set in some corrections to the minutes. I don't know if that they were sent up in the edit of the.
I believe
Yes, we
I believe I had seen them, that she forwarded them on. They look to be largely grammatical, so we can make those corrections.
Okay.
That was corrected. The resolution was corrected, or the ordinance, yes.
Okay.
Okay. So there was a typographical error on one of the ordinance numbers, and that has been corrected in the minutes. So no other corrections to note, then I will accept these into the record. Next, we have board and committee reports. So we have the Public Works Board minutes from July 14th and the Parks Board minutes from June 8th. Any interest in any of those minutes? Any comments or questions? Okay, seeing none, we'll accept those also into the record. Next, I am pleased to introduce Deb Reinbold, who is going to share some information with us. She's from the Jefferson County Economic Development Commission and talk about the reorganization. So Deb, thank you.
Hi there, and I have to apologize because I just came from Jefferson and I left my portfolio there with my notes. So hopefully I've got everything that I need, but I've given this presentation a couple of times now. So let me first introduce myself, and again, thank you for the brief introduction, but my name is Deb Reinbold, and I'm the president of Thrive Economic Development and the executive director of Jefferson County Economic Development Consortium, which Drake sits on. I'd also like to introduce a couple other gentlemen here in the room. So we have Kevin Kaufman, who is the Thrive Economic Development Board Chair, and then we also have Ben Waymeyer, who is the president of the Greater Watertown Community Health Foundation. Just checking to make sure. So Michael Lucky, the county administrator, was also planning on coming here tonight, so he might be coming in shortly. So I know you've all gotten a copy of the packet, and I'm sorry, I don't have an HDMI cord, so I can't show it to everyone else in the room. But if you don't mind going to page 2 of the document talks about the current state of our organization. So our organization, for those of you who aren't familiar, we have 3 staff members, myself, Emily Clavette, who's our financial partnership manager, and Julie Alver, who is she's our marketing manager. And as you all know, Jefferson County has gotten a lot of attention, and we're extremely busy right now. And thunderstorms, sorry. So we've been extremely busy and very successful in the work that we've been doing. And so our goal is to actually build off of that success and continue to do that, but adding additional capacity to our team to make sure that we can continue the momentum and continue the work while still keeping everyone, I would say, sane, but making sure that we can have that work-life balance. So if you don't mind, go to the the next slide. So the opportunity that we're proposing is that the Greater Watertown Community Health Foundation has done a study called the Community Health Assessment, and they led that study in partnership with the Ford Healthcare as well as the Watertown Regional Medical Center. And that community health assessment, the CHA, talks about mental health and well-being, and two components of that. They call it flourishing communities, so flourishing communities and flourishing families, flourishing youth. On the flourishing community side, two of those components are housing availability and affordability, and also economic mobility. And so by that, it means we need additional housing opportunities within the county, as well as we want to bring in companies that pay a high family-sustaining career opportunities for our residents. And so the foundation has done that study, and as they were talking about how they could continue that work and see the success that we've been having with our organization, they had a couple of options. And one of those options was, do they create another organization that basically does the same type of work that we do? Or do they partner with us so that we can then help to serve not only our organization or not only our county, but also expand into Dodge County and help to use the momentum that we have received? Is that a siren?
That sounds like a tornado siren.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to, if you just wait 1 second, Deb, please.
course.
We want to make sure we're paying attention to you and not to the possible weather threats. So we're going to do a quick. You'd think that we.
you jinxed it.
It could be.
That's what I was gonna say, it's going up and down, it's not a steady state, so I think that.
All I have is severe thunderstorm warnings at the moment.
Okay, well then we're going to.
Keep
move
going.
on. It doesn't sound as loud as the tornado. Well, it's not ours. Okay. Okay. I think we're in good shape for now.
Okay.
Okay.
So continuing on, so as I had mentioned before, the foundation had the opportunity to either, do they replicate the work that we're doing to also serve Dodge County, or do they potentially partner with our organization and have us actually become employees of the Greater Watertown Community Health Foundation? For those of you who aren't aware, right now, we are currently employees of Jefferson County, and we have two different boards. So we have the Thrive Economic Development Board, which is our private 501c3 organization, and then we have the Jefferson County Economic Development Consortium, which again is where Drake participates. And so when we have board meetings, the boards typically will meet together, and what we would be looking for the boards to decide as to whether or not we would actually dissolve that organization and then just become Thrive Economic Development. We would continue to have that as a separate 501c3, but we as employees would actually, through a service agreement, be employees of the foundation versus through the county. So the next slide, if you don't mind, talks about regional challenges calling for regional solutions. So we have made a lot of progress, and I know that you all have seen a lot of housing starts here in the city of Lake Mills, and we're seeing that across the county. And per the county strategic plan, we're looking at helping to support intentional economic growth. So we're not looking to grow for growth's sake, but really prioritize development within our cities, our villages, and then along our transportation corridors. And so the regional challenges are not unique to Jefferson County, and we would be looking to help to support those initiatives in Dodge County as well. And because these guys have heard me a couple of times, if there's anything that I forget, please feel free to jump in. Moving on to the next slide, talking about building on what already works. And so the foundation would be looking at making a significant financial investment into our organization so that we can add additional staffing. And we'll go into that on a future slide here. But our organization has done a really good job in working in business attraction. So that's the first bullet point here, a proven record of business attraction and retention expertise, productive industry relationships, a trusted partner to site selectors and developers, a strong working relationship with municipalities. We're established subject matter experts on housing and a proven convener. We like to bring people together so that we can come to a mutual goal. And then working with the foundation. The foundation, as I've shown there, a proven force multiplier and also a convener, ability to quickly deploy their resources in order to do good in the community, and then also have strong working relationships in the philanthropic sector. So one thing that I wanted to mention there is the attention that we as an organization have gotten on a statewide level. So we've received a number of different awards as an economic development organization throughout the state. The foundation has also received a lot of attention on a nationwide basis, and so they're actually being invited to different events throughout the country. And so for us, we potentially could use their relationships to help to bring investment in from even outside of the state, and hopefully can help to minimize the impact on our taxpayers when we're looking to support the community and do the work that we're looking to do. The next page talks about what this means for our partners. And so I'm hopeful this is a pretty clear outline. The first bullet here, increased financial stability. So as I had mentioned before, the Greater Watertown Community Health Foundation would be looking to make a significant investment in our organization. Dodge County would also be looking to invest at the same level that Jefferson County does. And so we would be able to add that additional staff capacity onto our team, which is the second bullet point there, the expanded staff capacity. Foundation employed staff, and we'll discuss this on the next slide as well, actually 2 slides up. The foundation has some staff that have additional capacity, and they're also looking at adding another staff person in order to support the work that we're doing. Shared operational support, updated committee structure, which we'll discuss on this next tab as well, and then also that broader service model, again, to include Jefferson and Dodge County. What will not change? Thrive Economic Development will continue to remain a separate 501c3 organization, and our long-term goal is actually to have Thrive become a self-sustaining organization within the next 10 years. Our board retains the authority. The foundation would not have authority over the work that we do. Municipal participation will remain essential. Part of the reason that we're so successful is because of the partnerships that we have with our communities. And also the work that we're doing is supporting the goals that you all have identified. So local priorities still guide the work. Core services will continue. Services will not decrease. The services actually, through the foundation, we're looking at increasing. And then existing resources won't be redirected anywhere, or redirected elsewhere, I should say. So the next page talks about the organizational chart. So as you take a look at that, we've got the Thrive Economic Development Board. Underneath that, we have 3 standing committees, the Executive Committee, Finance, Audit, and Compliance Committee, and then the Investor Relations Committee. We would be looking to add a Public Sector Committee, and that Public Sector Committee would include, at this point, the current Jefferson County Economic Development Consortium board members, and could potentially also include the Dodge County communities as well that are also partners. And then right now, the county administrator is not part of JCEDC. They would have a role on this committee as well. And then you'll see that there's 2 additional working committees that we currently have. That's our revolving loan fund committee. So for those of you who aren't familiar, we've got a couple of loan funds that we administer. We administer a Jefferson County revolving loan fund that helps to support businesses and their growth. And then we also created our Live Local Development Fund, which currently has $12.8 million to help to support housing development within the county. And then the other committee that we support is the Housing Committee. Again, as we were identifying when we did our market study last year, saw that Jefferson County has less than a 1% vacancy rate in multifamily and 1.7 months worth of single-family housing stock available. And so housing is a priority in order to make sure that we've got the workforce to support the companies within our communities. The next slide talks about our staffing structure. So right now, again, I've mentioned we've got 3 staff members. So president is myself. We've got our marketing manager, and what we currently have is our revolving loan fund manager. Actually, I would elevate that position to a community development director, and we would add someone who does a lot of the same work that I do in that economic development director. And then you'll see there's a couple of lighter positions that you'll see underneath that. That revolving loan fund manager / controller position is the position that the foundation could potentially be adding there. And they would do some of more of the administrative work that our revolving loan fund does right now. So for instance, communications with title companies, working with applicants to make sure that all the documents are in. This person would be able to take that work off of her plate. And then the admin support. So again, they've got someone on their staff who has that additional capacity that can help our team. And that would all be in-kind support from the foundation. Going on to that next tab talks about the Thrive ED letter of support. So Kevin Kaufman is here today to also affirm that our Thrive Economic Development Board is supportive of the efforts that we have here, and they see that it's a part of the long-term plan and help to strengthen the organization and the sustainability of Thrive and the work that we do. So next talks about the service matrix. So right now, all of the counties, the county and all of the communities that participate in JCEDC pay $1.50 per resident in order to participate. The counties, we would be looking to have the counties continue to participate at that $1.50 per resident rate. We would actually be looking to reduce the amount that we would ask our communities to participate at, and that would be at $1 per resident instead of that $1.50. We are also looking to shift to a fee-for-service model for non-traditional services. So right now, there's different services that we provide to communities that I would almost say, I wouldn't say they're not equitable, but there are certain things that different communities ask for that others don't. And so, for instance, right now, we're working on a T-grant application with the DOT for the city of Jefferson. The city of Fort Atkinson has asked that we help to administer their affordable housing loan fund. There's different things that aren't maybe traditional economic development work that we have expertise in, and we're doing that right now under the current $1.50 model. And so for me, in order to make it more equitable, I propose this dollar and then offer this fee-for-service model. And so if you go to the next tab, talks about some of the different potential fee-for-service options. And so data analytics, specifically marketing or marketing-specific sites would be something else that we could do. Again, it talks about custom data and analysis projects, custom communications, presentations and workshops. Again, these are things that are driven by you all, and you can customize that. And I know the city of Fort Atkinson had said that they're actually planning on leaving the budgetary number the same in their budget so that they could then use the surplus and come to us for fee-for-service items in the future. Pass through.
Pass through the fees to development.
Thank you. So Kevin is also saying pass through. So one of the other things that the city of Fort Atkinson had mentioned is that some of the fees that we would serve potentially on this fee-for-service model could be passed through to developers as well. So that would all be up to you. So the next slide that we have here is decision points. So right now, we haven't committed to anything. We've gotten pretty far along in the discussions, and that's on the advice of our board and also our executive committee. And so they wanted something to respond to, which is what we're providing to you here. So we are having a board meeting actually next week, Thursday. At that board meeting, we're not going to ask for a decision. We want to be able to give communities the opportunity to mull this over. But we are going to ask for feedback at that meeting. And then in September, we'll hold a special meeting. And at that meeting is where we would be looking to get a decision, a go or no go. With that, we would be asking for a municipal resolution, and so we would have a service agreement that we will be providing. Actually, the foundation right now is working with an attorney to go through and update draft bylaws. I've got a draft of that I'm going to be sending out to our boards, and I should have done that a couple of days ago. We'll be hopefully doing that tonight after I get home, so that they can have that and then respond to that next week, Thursday, as well. So as we're talking about this new service agreement, our thought is if this is something that we move forward with, that we offer a formal dissolution of JCEDC in combination then with that service agreement so that people could vote on both of them on the same day. And then again, the new governance model. So you all would be able to weigh in on whether the governance model that we've proposed is something that you would agree to. The next slide talks about timeline and next steps. So we had our last board meeting on July 21st. After that meeting, we talked about circulating documentation and collecting feedback, municipal board presentations if requested. And so you all are one of the communities that have requested it. The city of Fort Atkinson and Johnson Creek have also asked for these presentations, and those have already been completed. And then finally, the municipal and county board authorizations. Again, I mentioned the August 27th, the JCEDC Thrive ED board meeting as a check-in, and then that decision would be coming at a special meeting that comes in September. And then if everything is received positively, we would be looking to make that transition between October and December of this year. And that was the presentation. So if there's any questions.
Any questions, Jim? Jim, is your microphone on, please?
Click, click.
Thank you.
Testing, testing.
I can hear you.
Yes, your 501c3 Form 990 was due on May 15th. I wasn't able to find it. Did you apply for an extension, or is it filed but not available online, or what's the?
So it was with our accountant, and the accountant should have filed it. I actually signed that paperwork about a month ago. So I'm sure they extended it, and then it should be filed.
Okay, so then it would be due November 15th if you got an extension. Last one I saw was 2025. And I noticed that you received, it looks pretty good statistics here. You received something like $83,000 more than your expenses. So that gave you a little cushion, right?
So just so you're aware, the majority of our expenses all run through Jefferson County. And so, yes, last year we did have a net income through the Thrive side. And actually overall, between the two organizations we did. But the majority of our revenue and our expenses all run through the Jefferson County side. So if you're interested in specific financials, that's where you'll find most of the detail.
Okay, well, it is publicly stated, but I thought it was a good thing that you had an excess, of revenue over expenses.
Well, part of what we're looking to do is create different revenue streams. So one of the ideas was the Live Local Development Fund. And so we receive a 1% loan origination fee. We also receive an application fee. And so we're looking, again, to try and generate funds as much as we can outside of our taxpayer base.
I'm a new member on the board, so I wasn't here last year. What contribution did Lake Mills make to the Thrive?
$1.50 times 6,800 and change.
Okay, which is just a standard per citizen.
Correct. Yeah, 10,000 and odd dollars, I believe.
Do you receive funds from town of as well as the city of Lake Mills? That's a separate contribution. We wouldn't have notice of it, but I'm just wondering if you.
The town is not a participant. So typically, the organization, it's the cities and villages that participate typically because they're the ones who would benefit from the industrial development.
They are eligible for benefits, though, that you have quite a few benefits listed. I would think that you don't say, let me see your address before you can enjoy these benefits, right?
Yeah, so part of what we were talking about with this whole fee-for-service model is we would have 4 different tiers of service. So at the top tier would be the county and their investment, so there's a basic level of service that we would provide there. And then we would have another tier of services that would be available to the participating municipalities. And then we would have a tier for those that don't participate. So you would get the additional services. You would also benefit from, on the fee-for-service piece, we would reduce those fees for the participating communities versus those that don't.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Lisa?
I have a question, I guess, more for Drake. I'm interested in your perspective on this and how you would see things changing, pros and cons for the city of Lake Mills.
I think some of that will yet to bear itself out as we read through the bylaws and what the participation by the public sector kind of has in it. I think the obvious benefits are reduced costs and expanded capacity of the organization. I think that in conversations with Jefferson County as well, is that there is a structural deficit to the organization as it currently sits, and so there hasn't been a consideration, I guess, recently on the county increasing their contribution in order to make that structural deficit go away. I think that we also have a retention issue perhaps with our economic development staff at this level. There's a significant amount of work, and when you compare with other compensations of other entities, we tend to trend behind. So I think that the opportunities to pick and choose certain services as well as the base level of service is attractive, and I think that having an organization like the Greater Watertown Health Foundation provide kind of that backbone of support to it to make it more sustainable is probably the biggest pro to a transition like this. Obviously, the private sector side has indicated their desire to see something like this happen, and I think that it certainly has merit as well. As far as a con, I think we'll see what that bears out as far as like what is the public sector's role in driving, whether policy or direction of this organization, and that would be that there may be some change in just how that relationship works. So, but I think as it currently sits, the current model we have is unsustainable as it's designed, and so there needs to be some discussion of what that looks like moving forward. And I think this is a creative solution to put us on that path of sustainability while maintaining the relationships we have with the private sector and adding in, I guess, kind of the agent, the Greater Watertown Health Foundation, to add in that base level of support so that this continues well into the future. And the momentum we've seen can continue in Jefferson County.
If I could ask a follow-up, and I guess perhaps more for Deb and the folks with you, I agree that there's been a lot of positive momentum, and I've had opportunities to benefit from the resources that your entity provides, and I'm mindful of how your organization has been able to support the county and municipalities in accomplishing our strategic goals. And so I just want to make sure that that continues, even though maybe the structure and organization and foundation will be a little bit different, but that we've benefited from those resources in accomplishing strategic and development goals in the past, and hope that that can continue.
Absolutely, and in fact, I think it'll be more intentional. So my goal is to come in and have a one-on-one conversation, whether it's just with Drake or if it's with the team, to again, just reiterate what your goals are as a community, what areas you're looking to see development, and there's different opportunities that will come with the funding that's available through the foundation that, we'll still explore, but I think that there's going to be greater opportunity for us.
Thank you.
You were created in 2016, is that right?
Yeah, this is our 10-year anniversary.
And the benefits to the communities are rather generally stated, strengthening public-private partnerships and so forth. I'm a new member of the council, but so I'm not aware of any specific accomplishments that you would want to brag about, but you have the opportunity. Can you point out to us some of the accomplishments that the $1.50 per citizen could say, well, that was a good investment?
Sure. So within Jefferson County, we've seen almost $2 billion worth of investment within the county in the last 3 years. We have seen housing development. We've created the Live Local Development Fund at $12.8 million, and that has helped to support housing developments in every community within Jefferson County. We've created additional exposure to opportunities within the county. So about 3 years ago, I got a phone call from Biz Times Media. One of the things that I found when I first started here is that Jefferson County largely hasn't been reported. So when you look at the newspapers in Dane County, they really focus on Madison. When you looked at the Milwaukee area, it ended in Waukesha County. And we were able to bring Biz Times Media into Jefferson County, and they expanded their service area 2 years ago. They've given us repeated exposure. So for instance, last year they hosted Madwaukee 2050, which is talking about the Madison-Milwaukee corridor and the development opportunities that are here. That was so well attended, they actually said, we're going to repeat that again this year. So on October 22nd, they're going to do a second round. Basically what that event is, historically, has been, you go to one county and you talk about what do you want to be in 2050. And so they actually pushed off Washington County in order to revisit Madwaukee 2050. Last year, we hosted our Thrive Leaders and Legends Awards, again through Biz Times Media, and the purpose of that was really to celebrate all of the businesses and the people within our communities on a larger scale. So right now, I think our chambers do a really good job of doing that at a local level, but we haven't gotten that same exposure on the larger scale. And so now you'll see that there's more media attention. And in fact, I can tell you that In Business Magazine out of Madison has also now expanded their service area into Jefferson County as well, because they were watching the work that was being done. And because of that, we're now getting additional inquiries. So I'm getting outreach from developers, from real estate brokers, I've gotten attention from companies in Illinois or from California that are specifically targeting us, because now we're getting more of that media. And I can tell you that I did a presentation, actually, WEDA, the Wisconsin Economic Development Association. They work with the IEDC, which is the International Economic Development Organization. They do training, and they train all the new economic developers, and part of their basic course, they asked me to come in and talk about attraction. And so I got to partner with the people from New North, which is the Regional Economic Development Organization up in Green Bay, and talk about how to help to attract businesses into your communities. And so we're seeing a lot of momentum, both on the industrial side, and then the partnership that we'll have with the foundation will also allow us to work on, I'm thinking about some of the work that they've been doing, for instance, on childcare. So there's different initiatives that we're trying to work on, but those are just some of the things that we've done in the last, I want to say, 3 or 4 years. And again, I think it's just the beginning of the momentum.
I understand this is a big picture sort of a thing, and a rising tide lifts all boats. I understand all of that completely, but throughout your presentation, there were some specific mentions made of Jefferson and Fort Atkinson multiple times, Watertown. Is there anything specific in City of Lake Mills that you can point out?
So we primarily supported Lake Mills through the housing developments. I can tell you that we recognize that you have your industrial park and some sites that are available there. Honestly, we need more land, more industrial land for you to use. And so there's potentially different opportunities that we can partner in the future on that industrial piece. But right now, it's primarily been focused on residential.
Thanks.
I'm not sure I understand the function that you perform. Let's say housing development.
Mm-hmm.
We might have a developer come in to the Plan Commission who wants to rezone an area to put in some houses. Are you sort of a lobbyist for that sort of an activity, or how do you facilitate that development?
No, we're not a lobbyist. No, each community is going to make their own decisions. And if you're saying, hey, I want housing development here or here, basically we have we communicate with Drake and their team in order to find out what areas you're looking to have that development on. We've got the relationships with the developers in order to then say, okay, there's an opportunity on this site, and then bring them in, start to have that conversation, and help to facilitate the introduction for the opportunity.
How do you find a balance between those who want to develop an area and those who are opposed to it? Are you just on the
That's not
side
for
of
me to
the
say.
spur at all time?
Yeah, that's not for me to say. I bring the opportunity, but honestly, the more clear we are up front that you all are looking for specific opportunities in the area makes it easier for me and my credibility. So for instance, if you say, hey, we want to see development here, and I bring a development partner in, and then that development is then shut down, that makes it more difficult for me to say, okay, the community now really wants you on this site. And so the clearer we are upfront as to where you want to see that development, the more helpful it is for me.
And I missed I may have missed in your introduction, but what's your relationship with the Legendary Lake Mills and our well,
There isn't, they're a community partner, but there's not a,
there's no connection between you and the Chamber of Commerce, that is Legendary Lake Mills?
Not a direct connection. We did work quite a bit with Raina, but now Raina's left and I haven't met your new.
No, right.
They target more of your Main Street and your small businesses. And so for us, when we're looking at these industrial projects, there we're looking at creating, again, those careers that offer family-sustaining wages so that they can then go out and support those restaurants and those small businesses, the service industries. And then also the residential, we want to be able to bring, this is a line that I've used, and I know Drake has heard it before, but when you're talking about, when I come to a community, a lot of the communities say, well, what we really need is, and then they insert some kind of a commercial, we really need a Target, or we really need a Home Depot. And so the line that Drake has probably heard is retail follows rooftops. And so we're only going to be able to get those developments here as we bring in the residents, because they really want to see that density of customer base and then also have them have expendable income that they can come and spend and support their business.
So I guess to answer a piece of your question, it kind of all circles back to the council adopted comprehensive plan, future land use maps, where the council is telling your staff, this is where we see certain types of development occurring. We take those opportunities and we let JCEDC know, like, these are kind of areas where if you have developers that are interested, this is where our policymakers have said this development is going to occur. And then they, in some cases, are having conversations with developers will reach out to them and say they're trying to site a certain type of industrial development or commercial development, or that they're looking to have a housing development, and they can come back to me and say, we have this person who's interested, is there land available, does it fit with your long range plans, and then try and kind of match that up and bring something to fruition that meets the goals of the policymakers, but that we might not have the reach locally in order to connect with.
Also, when the state has an RFP. So typically, the way that some of these larger industrial projects come in is there's a site selector that works with a company. They then put together what they call an RFP. They submit it to the state and they say, do you have any sites that potentially would help, that meet these criteria? And so then I'll work with our communities. I'll send it out. I'll say, hey, I think that you've got a site that might work with this. And then we explore, whether we meet the utility needs that they're requesting. And then we'll submit that and we'll manage that process as well.
Lisa?
I just was going to add one very specific example I can think of from a couple of years ago is that Thrive offered a grant opportunity which the city took advantage of to have our zoning ordinance evaluated and look for opportunities where we could simplify or streamline our procedures to make that development process a little bit easier for all sides of the equation. And I think that even has led to some of the ideas that Greg Coots is bringing forward in some ordinance changes. So that was very specific to our community and, looking at our ordinance. And we got funding for a consultant for that project.
Thank you. And I should also mention that the funding from that came from Dodge County, Jefferson County, the Greater Watertown Community Health Foundation, and WEDC.
Thank you. Well, Deb, Kevin, and Ben, thank you for joining us and sharing the progress, the update, and the timeline. And I'm certain we'll be watching for how it all concludes this fall.
Fantastic. Thank you all for your time.
That was far too modest to say this. She was about 6 months ago awarded Executive of the Year.
Awesome.
Congratulations.
Congratulations. Okay, so thank you for, it was a good discussion, everyone, Council. Next, we have correspondence and constituent contacts on the agenda. And so, Greg Coots, would you go first, please?
Yeah, I had a couple of contacts about Sandy Beach parking and specifically about ending parking fees at 5 p.m. had a contact requesting that the replacement trailer park pads be put in on the B level, and I believe we all got that one. I got a contact from Anita Martin about hard-boiled egg plant, just in the kind of a summary of communications that have been going on about that, and a question about electric bikes and scooters on city sidewalks.
Thank you. Lisa?
I'll just add a couple of contacts regarding flock cameras and the city's use. A tree near the library that was requested for trimming. And then I attended the annual meeting of the Rock Lake Improvement Association, and they had a couple of presentations on the Sandy Beach, our concept plan that we approved, and on the water level policy.
Thank you. Jim?
I had contacts from several citizens on the Sandy Beach parking fees and on the hard-boiled egg issue. I had conversations with city attorney and city manager on some of these items. I also had contacts about the flock cameras and about the golf cart policy, access and charge and parking and so forth at Sandy Beach.
Thank you.
I don't really have that much more to offer, and I won't bother you with all of the ones that I missed from the previous meeting, because I'm sure that those were all covered. The only addition I would have is that I've been in contact with our building inspector regarding how Cottage Inn is coming along, as well as a constituent reached out regarding their neighbor's plants, and that's about it.
Thank you. In addition, I had many of those. I had also correspondence on the beach closures, some ideas for revenue to send into the Economic Development Commission, and also received a message about the effectiveness of using a quorum, which I'm working on trying to understand that one a little bit more. And I also met with a person who's interested in serving on the Parks Board, and I attended the Lake Mills Town Board meeting, in particular interested in the report from the management of Daybreak on the hard-boiled egg processing. So that's for correspondence. Next, we have public comment. So we do have 3 individuals who have signed up this evening. Individuals who have registered to speak are invited to address the council at this time. Please state your name and address when you are called on to make your comments. No action will be taken for items not listed on the agenda, and each speaker is limited to 3 minutes. And so first, we have Nancy Gant. And her topic is Sandy Beach Park.
Good evening, Council. My name is Nancy Gant. I live at 855 East Lake Street in Lake Mills, and I also am a resident in Sandy Beach. I'm speaking tonight because regarding the golf cart issue in your Sandy Beach agenda. I think as this plan is written, it creates accessibility problem that the city will end up having to fix later. Sandy Beach has always been one of the most accessible public spaces we have, and in every sense of the word. Part of that is the golf cart access that existed since the 1980s. For seniors and residents with disabilities, especially in the mobile home communities in the area, a golf cart is often the only realistic way to reach the beach. A car doesn't solve that problem. Many of these residents don't really drive their cars, and expanding car parking doesn't help someone who can't make that trip in the first place. I understand that more car parking is needed as the beach gets busier, and I'm not asking the council to abandon that goal. But eliminating car parking in the same plan effectively closes the beach to a group of residents who currently rely on it without any stated alternative for them. Before this is approved, I ask the council to require a clear accessibility plan, whether that's preserved cart parking or designated safe cart route or both, so that expanding access for cars doesn't come at a direct cost to the access for our older and disabled neighbors. Thank you for considering this.
Thank you.
Uh-oh, the side button. Side button?
Side button.
There we go.
All right. A lot of beeps. Next is Julie Bean, Sandy Beach Golf Cart Parking.
Hi, I'm Julie Bean. I live on Sandy Beach Road, just across from the beach itself. I watch this project come together, and I want to be clear, I'm glad to see the investment in this part of town. But I have a real concern about what gets lost in this plan. For over 40 years, golf carts have been a normal part of getting around out here. And for a lot of my neighbors, that cart isn't recreational, it's mobility. I have neighbors in their 60s, 70s, 80s who can't safely walk the distance to the beach anymore. They can't drive a full-size car the way that they used to, but they can drive a golf cart at 10 miles an hour or so down a sidewalk. Take that away, and you haven't just removed a parking spot. You've removed their ability to get to the beach at all. Expanding car parking is a reasonable goal. I understand that the demand is real. But don't do that at the same time you think eliminating car parking and end sidewalk access puts the burden entirely on the residents who have the least flexibility to absorb it. Older neighbors, people with mobility issues, people without a second car to spare. I ask you to require some accommodation before this moves forward. A dedicated golf cart parking area or projected route to the beach for the carts, so we are not quietly excluding the people who lived here the longest. Please finalize the plan without addressing that gap. Thank you.
Thank you. And next we have Anita Martin on hard-boiled eggs.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak. We live at 261 Pinnacle Drive in Lake Mills. The hard-boiled egg processing will be starting according to what was stated at the town board meeting by the operations manager at Daybreak Foods. It'll be starting in the neighborhood of December to February. It'll start 3 days a week, 12 hours of operation, and then it'll go to 4 days a week, and then their plan is to go to 7 days a week. They also stated that they will be hard-boiling eggs from their Crossman Road facility, plus other Daybreak facilities, which I'm assuming right now would be Palmyra, and then from other farms. So this is a concern for a number of reasons. Why is this important to the city? An important thing that was brought up by Jeff Schmager, who has more than 30 years of experience with manufacturing, he brought up that what needs to happen for the hydrogen sulfide is that the gas needs to be run through an oxidizer system. These kinds of plants generate large amounts of hydrogen sulfide, and some towns have actually sued companies because of the issues with the volume of hydrogen sulfide which is generated. Why is this important to the city? A couple of quick reasons. If this is not properly taken care of from the get-go, we could have very strong odors in our city. We know the odors go 4.1 miles. We know that in the past, this has impacted real estate agents. They've had to reschedule showings of their homes. It's impacted businesses. People come in, the patrons, and say, "What the heck is this smell?" et cetera. So it can impact our businesses. And then also keep in mind that if this goes forward without proper mitigation, then the property values in the township could well reduce by 10 to 15%, which means less taxes will be collected, and that will impact the county as well as our Lake Mills Area School District. So we really need to figure out a way to encourage them to install the proper system from the get-go as a business expense. I think that would be the best thing for the city, for the town, for everyone involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Nita. Okay, next item of business is a city manager's report. Drake.
Pretty lengthy report for you this evening, as well as other attachments that are included. I guess I'd ask if there are any questions on any of the items that you'd like me to expand on.
Drake, I just wanted to double check one thing from your report quick. The capital improvement plan, you're noting that the Public Works Board reviewed and recommended, and the Parks Board reviewed and recommended. Is everything still on track for the capital improvement plan to make it to the council at the first September meeting, and then the budget for the September 15th meeting?
It is currently, the CIP is with our financial advisor for them to go through their analysis. So some of that will be pending that review, but if everything stays on schedule, we should still hit those dates.
All right, thank you.
Any other questions of Drake? Yes, Lisa.
I just wanted to tag on to that and then ask another question. So on the CIP, I really appreciate Brian Peterson bringing the parks and forestry related aspects to the Parks Board. I don't think they've received that in the past, and I think they really appreciated looking at that and having an opportunity to weigh in. It's kind of new for them looking at the numbers, where Public Works Board is used to doing that every year, so I hope that tradition will continue. And then, Drake, I just wondered if you could highlight the changes in the new phone system for utilities, because I think that's something I often hear from constituents that they can't get through, like when there's an outage, so maybe you could just share with everybody those changes.
Sure, it was kind of a two-part change. So first we looked at our internal system to make sure that we had enough incoming lines into the utility so that there wasn't a bottleneck where our system wasn't sending those calls to the after-hours call service. And so we upgraded that. We now have essentially unlimited incoming phone calls in those after-hours time periods when we don't have an employee at the desk to answer the phones. And then now, when they do make it to the answering service, if for some reason that answering service is overwhelmed by call volume, you will now receive an automated message telling you that you have reached Lake Mills Utilities and that your call will be answered essentially in the order that it was received, or when the next available representative is able to take the call. And so that should limit the times where you call in to report an issue and the phone line just keeps ringing. If you were to stay on the line, eventually somebody would pick up the phone, but obviously it's not reasonable to expect somebody to just listen to a ringtone for an extended period of time. So now at least they are aware that the phone call has gotten to where they needed it to go, and that all the representatives are busy, but somebody will answer as soon as they are able to. There's other things that we're currently working on as well in order to improve communication with ratepayers, and hopefully we'll be able to provide more updates in the future, but that has been a source of frustration in the past for both staff and for customers. And so hopefully now everyone will either get through to somebody or at the very least is aware that their phone call has gotten to where they're trying to get to, and that it will be answered.
Thank you, and I think you highlighted in a separate email to the council that Teresa Ulam from our staff was key in working on that, so I just wanted to give a shout out to her. Thanks.
Yes, go ahead.
I just want to highlight Chief Schrader's report, and in particular, the picture of Jessica Johnson getting awarded in her retirement. I know that there are many, many, many youth in our city who have benefited from her services to our school district, and I just want to publicly thank her for everything that she's done for our kids for how many years?
27 plus?
27. Okay, you probably talked about this at the last meeting, but I wasn't here, so I'm going to do that. And then also want to extend my sincere wishes for peace for Officer Norenberg's family.
Any other questions of Drake on the city manager's report or any of the sub-reports? Okay, so we will move on to council business, so.
Excuse me.
Yes.
The city manager's report, does that include the monthly AP summary?
Yes, that's the entire, all of the things on item 9.
Okay, I did have a question about that.
Okay,
I'm referring to forest landscaping, nearly $503,000. I wonder, was that a typo, or did we actually spend $500,000 on landscaping?
They're the awarded contractor for the Brookstone Phase 9 development and Brookstone Drive extension project in the Brookstone Meadows subdivision.
Okay.
So that's roads, sidewalks.
The word landscaping and $500,000 don't go well together.
It's the name of their company.
But, so that is the correct amount, that is, we're spending $500,000 to have that area landscaped.
No,
no.
It's the
No.
Brookstone Phase 9 construction project. Included in the capital improvement plan this year in budget.
Oh, okay.
It's a neighborhood being built.
All right.
And we would have approved-
Roads, sidewalks, water,
It's not just
sewer.
mowing the lawns.
No.
No, we would have approved that at an earlier meeting because those bids come to the council, so that would have been one that would have come through. And I know it is.
apologize, I wasn't, part of that, but it just struck and there's one other thing that I'm curious about, and that is in the general fund, what is the tower rent principle and tower rent interest? What is the tower rent?
Communication tower south of.
The cell phone tower?
Yes.
Okay, so they're paying.
Likely, that's what
paying
you're
us.
looking at. right?
Okay. yeah.
Yes, it
I
is.
just-
They have a
I-
100-year contract.
I hadn't seen any towers around here, so I was wondering what.
The one
what it
right
was.
out
Okay,
there.
Good, that's all. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So we are moving on to council business, and so our first item is Resolution 26-69. Could you read that, please, Sam?
City Council Resolution 26-69 in appreciation of public service to the City of Lake Mills from retired police officer Jessica Johnson.
So could Jess come up to the podium, please? And before I read the resolution, I'm going to ask any council members if they wanted, thank you for making some comments already, Michelle. I know you did that in the city manager report because it was noted in the police report that we have from Chief. But would anyone like to make some comments before I actually read the resolution? Oh, go ahead, Lisa.
Sure, I'll make something. Congratulations, Officer Johnson and Jessica. I know a lot of people are going to say many wonderful things about her work with children as a school resource officer, which has been fantastic. I first met Officer Johnson because she organized and led the Citizens Police Academy, and I had an opportunity to be in the second class, and she did a great job organizing that, putting together an agenda and a variety of topics and bringing other officers and trainers in. So I just appreciate that aspect of your work that maybe not everybody was familiar with.
Thank you.
So best wishes in your retirement.
Thank you.
Any other comments? So I am honored to read City Council Resolution 26-69, in appreciation of public service to the City of Lake Mills from retired police officer Jessica Johnson. Whereas Jessica Johnson has served in the police department of the City of Lake Mills for 27-plus years, with a desire to provide the highest level of service and integrity. And whereas during her career with the Lake Mills Police Department, Jessica Johnson served as a police officer 2, and school resource officer. And whereas, as a school resource officer, Jessica Johnson had an immeasurable impact on countless students who she taught, counseled, and supported. And whereas the dedication and commitment demonstrated by Jessica Johnson to the Lake Mills Police Department and the City of Lake Mills has provided a lasting and meaningful contribution to the City of Lake Mills. And whereas the City Council of the City of Lake Mills desires to recognize and honor Jessica Johnson for her career of loyal service and contributions to the Lake Mills Police Department, the City of Lake Mills, and its citizens. Now, therefore, be it resolved, the City Council of the City of Lake Mills does hereby recognize the dedicated public service and career of Jessica Johnson and extends best wishes for an enjoyable and fulfilling retirement from the Lake Mills Police Department. Resolved this 18th day of August 2026. Congratulations.
Thank you.
And thank you for your service.
I make a motion to approve Resolution 26-69.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion to approve by Lisa Curler, a second by Michelle Quidnow. We'll do a roll call, please.
Ms. Curler?
Aye.
Ms. Schmager?
Aye.
Ms. Quidnow?
Aye.
Mr. Coots?
Aye.
Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
So it's official.
Thank you so much. Can I just say a couple words?
Yes, please.
Perfect. I just want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to come here tonight and say thank you again. I know I said at the retirement party that that the chief threw for me and everything, but it's been a wonderful almost 28 years serving the city of Lake Mills, and this truly still is my home. I've got a lot of part-time things going on, and I'm here just about every day anyway, so I really do love this city, and I'm so glad that I was able to serve it so well for so long. So thank you.
Oh, we thank you for your service. And can we ask who is your companion?
That is Hugo. He served as our facility dog for about 2 years. He went to a daycare today, and I picked him up, and I didn't want to run him all the way home, so he came with. And he's not enjoying retirement so much. He definitely misses the kids.
Can you make a statement tonight?
But he will start going to Trinity Pines with me next week, and then I'm going to volunteer at the school still, so he'll be able to go in and see the kids. So
Nice. Well,
Yeah.
thanks for bringing him along.
yeah, of course. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Next, we have Resolution 26-70. Sam.
City Council Resolution 26-70 in appreciation of public service to the City of Lake Mills. Sean Bolig? I knew I was going to do that.
Bolig.
And I get the honor of reading this resolution. So I don't believe he's here, but that's fine. He gets to listen to me talk. Whereas Sean Bolig has served as a dedicated and valuable member of the LD Fargo Library Board for 20 years, including 12 years as the Library Board President. And whereas, as a member of the Library Board, Sean Bolig provided valuable perspective, business acumen, and dedicated service to the citizens of Lake Mills and the LD Fargo Library. And whereas Sean Bolig worked diligently and effectively with elected and appointed officials, shareholders, and staff to plan and budget responsibly to achieve goals that were important to and in the best interest of the City of Lake Mills and the LD Fargo Library. And whereas Sean Bolig provided conscientious, reasonable, and diligent service that has contributed to the betterment of the City of Lake Mills and its citizen and the LD Fargo Library. Now therefore be it resolved that the City Council of the City of Lake Mills, on behalf of the citizens of Lake Mills, does hereby acknowledge and express appreciation for the dedicated public service of Sean Bolig, adopted this 18th day of August 2026.
I will make a motion to approve Resolution 26-70.
I'll second that.
Motion by Mary Schmager, a second by Michelle Quidnow. So could I have a roll call, please?
Ms. Schmager?
Aye.
Ms. Quidnow?
Aye.
Mr. Coots?
Aye.
Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Ms. Curler?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Any words for Sean? Anyone would like to make as he is moving off of the library board?
Lisa, do you want to go first? Because you had him first.
Sure. When I first joined the council, the library board was the first board that I was assigned to, and so I got a chance to work with Sean for a year little over a year as the chair, and he had the most longevity, and there was a bit of turnover on the board at that time, so it was really great to have his long knowledge. He had also worked on the beginning years and continuing up until this day, and him stepping down on the proposed expansion of the library, and was very dedicated to that. So I want to thank him particularly for those qualities.
I appreciate that you're so much more eloquent than I am at this point. And I will back up exactly what you've said. It's been wonderful to have Sean on the board for as many years, and having that historian to be able to reference back to. He was very knowledgeable in the business acumen especially. And I appreciated in the beginning, we had longer meetings toward the end of his tenure, but at the very beginning, he was very efficient with his meeting schedule. So I will say that Sean always had a very funny disposition, always had something joking to say, and brought joy to our meetings whenever we had them. So,
Thank you. Well, thanks to Sean for his service. Okay, our next item is Resolution 26-71. Sam?
City Council Resolution 26-71, adopting of City of Lake Mills Dam Management Policy.
Okay, so Drake or Brian on this one?
I think largely we can open it up to questions. I know that there's some council members do have some questions on the document. The one question I received that I'll answer for everybody is, as you'll see, the water level order does read as amended. I believe I stated this during one of my reports when it occurred, but essentially what happened is Mary actually was the one who caught this, but when they issued the first report during fall drawdown, it was requiring us to draw down to the winter minimum, which was at odds with kind of the rest of the water level order. And so I reached out to the DNR and asked if that was intentional, and if it was, why, or if it was a mistake. And they indicated that it was an error, and they corrected it so that the drawdown during fall is to the winter maximum that we have to hit by that date. We don't have to hit the winter minimum and then try to spend all winter kind of rebuilding up to it. So that was the amendment that they issued in April after they had issued it in, I believe, January. But otherwise, the dam management policy is largely being updated to reflect the new water level order. There is some narrative that's been added trying to explain certain aspects of the water level order. One thing I'll note is that you'll see in the actual management at any given time during the year is generally being managed 1 inch below the maximum. This is a bit of a change from the previous policy that dictated that the dam would be managed at the maximum. This is due to a correspondence we received from the DNR in which they said that it's not reasonable dam management practices to be managing at the maximum, experience a rain event, rise above that maximum, and only start drawing down after that exceedance has occurred. That we would either need to proactively lower in anticipation of a rain event, or provide ourselves some ability, some capacity in order to react timely to prevent it from going over to the greatest extent possible. There is still reasonable management of the dam if we do go over because of something out of our control, but they had stated that it was not reasonable to be at the maximum, experience a rain event, and then be over the maximum at that time. So that is why we have that buffer that we've put in there into the policy.
Okay, so comments, questions about the materials, the proposed policy? Lisa?
I have a few comments, and I guess I'll start by saying thank you for providing this update. You know, we got the city requested a change in the water level order. We received that outcome from DNR in January, and then, as you said, Rick, needed kind of that clarification. We also were without a public works director, and then, you know, in the process of that staffing transition. So what is most important to me is that staff continue to try to get clarification from DNR and to work on implementing the new order. And now we can catch up with, you know, getting this policy document to line up with that. So just thank you for prioritizing, you know, getting the correct information from DNR so we could get our dam operating correctly. I think you hit on something really important, Drake, and that is, you know, one of the key policy statements in this that's different from the policy that we adopted 2 years ago is that statement of the 1 inch below. And so I really want to make sure that we highlight that. I also think this document would benefit from kind of an overarching policy statement right at the beginning that basically says something along the lines of that the city of Lake Mills intends to operate the Rock Lake Dam in compliance, you know, with the Department of Natural Resources and state requirements to preserve natural resources and, you know, protect the lake for everyone to enjoy, something along those lines. To me, that's kind of a big picture policy statement that hopefully everybody can get behind, and then we can hit on, you know, the detailed things that are in the policy section. So that's just something I would propose that we consider adding. I've got a couple of other suggested comments, and I guess just to cut to the chase, I'll say I'm going to recommend that we maybe have some dialogue and then ask staff to go back and do some edits and bring it to a future meeting rather than adopting this tonight. And I'll see if my fellow council members agree. So just real quickly then, in the water level order section, this is cut and pasted from the new order. But what I liked about the previous policy document is it had a table, and I think that's easier for our constituents to read and understand. It doesn't mean that the order isn't still, you know, exist and need to be followed, but I'm just wondering if that section could be shortened by just putting in you know, here's the, you know, DNR issued this water level on X date, and, you know, here's a summary of what it requires. And then in the implementation section, there are a lot of some narrative information, as you kind of indicated, Drake, that kind of explains some of the operational things or answers some of the questions that, you know, staff get from time to time. But I felt like the way that it was worded, you kind of lose sight of like, what are the actual policy statements of when are we going to, you know, what are we doing each season and what are we doing for, you know, regular maintenance to clear debris? Like, I just would like to see those kind of be very clear so that a reader is real clear on like, this is our policy, and then maybe there, you know, some of that background information can be there to help answer questions. So I did share this with Brian and Drake earlier today, some of my thoughts, so I would be happy to discuss further or see if they have any thoughts.
Can I just add one, your very first comment about managing the dam in compliance with DNR is actually in the purpose statement. So maybe so I don't know if you're thinking about something more specific to marking the date that the WLO order had been issued, or the actual WLO order number or something, Lisa, because it does actually state the general compliance is in that very first sentence.
Yeah, and maybe it's a fine point, you know,
Okay.
it's saying the purpose of this document is to have procedures to be in compliance. And I guess I just thought sort of a more direct statement, we intend to be in compliance with this order, might just give it a little bit more oomph. But I agree, it's in there.
Like bullets, are you thinking just format, more like bullet statements, pure policy statements? I don't know.
I think that would be, or policy and purpose or something like that. I think that it could be edited a little bit just to, again, make those policy statements be very clear.
Comments? Oh, go ahead, Greg.
I would respectfully disagree. I think the policy as written is sufficient. It's a long document, and you could probably spend time fixing words to a preference, back and forth forever if you really wanted to. The copy directly from the order I actually appreciate, because I think that is the best way that I show compliance in my government job a lot of times is by going word for word out of the statute. So I think going word for word out of the order, I think that's as clear as you can be that you're in compliance with the order. So I'm not saying it's a perfect document by any means, but I think it is certainly sufficient, and I believe it gets the point across as is, and I would be willing to move for acceptance tonight.
Michelle or Jim, any comments on the WLO? I happen to like the concept of a table, but the words are, this is actually the same WLO that we had approved or had been approved prior, with just the translation or transition from the old WLO language to the new in the water level order and statutory requirements section. So it is consistent with, I think, the past version. I think a table, I do like the idea of a table as a simplified way, if there was a way that, I don't know if there can be a table that would be, to simplify, there is a little bit, this is very, like for a person who is interested in just trying to get the basics, it's hard to pull the basics out. So I think maybe I'm in between Lisa and Greg, and that if we added a table, and the table did include the actual WLO, I think what was missing that I had caught is the WLO itself has a number that actually coincides with it. And I think that keeping that as a record of source to the policy document would be really important, because I will tell you, back in the days when I was learning all about the WLO, it was very challenging to figure out what WLO was actually dated when, and what was actually a guidance and what was actually expected. It just wasn't clear. This is docket number FOR. I mean, it's got a number, and it has a date, and it has and now we have it for our records an amended document date. So I think if we could, I think that's more of a record-keeping piece, but a table with just going to the source, and whether that's in front of the language that you're referring to, Greg, that you liked right from the DNR, or it's a link to a table. I think I'm somewhere in between, but redoing the entire document, to me, I think this can stand alone at just making a simple, more user-friendly table as an addition with the reference would be my addition to I guess my change I would recommend.
Okay, I guess I will speak up. Normally, I am a big fan of trying to simplify and put tables into things. But I am going to side with Greg on this one, and that it's a document that, in my opinion, is sufficient. I don't feel that it's a good use of Brian's time to have to go through and do that. I think if somebody was very interested in really being clear on that they would then reach out to Brian or Drake and get that information. I'm not sure what the amount of people is that are really looking for the WLO, and so I'm sorry. I know this is really a passion for you, and I'm not trying to minimize it. I think it's because of that it might make it where you want to make it easy for other people to understand. And I'm over here thinking, I don't know that there's that many people that will. So I really want to be conscious of Brian's time, knowing how his job is split up. And in my opinion, he did a good job of really laying it out in a way that, is easy for the layman to understand. And if they have any questions, his contact information is at the bottom. So I am going to side with Greg on that one and leave it as is.
I have a thought. Thank you, everybody, for your thoughts. And maybe one thing we can do, I like Mary's suggestion, maybe just in the purpose paragraph, the second line where it says WDNR, if that phrase could be replaced with, in compliance with state requirements as provided in DNR water level order, docket number, blah, 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 whatever. I don't have the exact number, but just maybe replace that phrase with the docket number, then that clearly ties it all together. And I would also propose that the resolution should also have the DNR docket number in it. So then again, it's just kind of is very precise and, tying everything together. The city webpage is a resource that, we have put information on previously, and I think the old table is still out there. I'm not 100% sure, but that's a place where a table could go. And so that's a more of a, so I concede it doesn't have to be in here, but if staff are looking for rather, not everybody is actually going to be interested in all the details in this document, but they might be interested in the short version, which could go on a web page, and then that would be an easy reference for people. I think we have a page where people go and see, where we post the water levels every month and that kind of a thing. So maybe as an alternative, that would be a way to do it. So what do people think of just the idea of amending the purpose statement to include that docket number?
I would support that.
Yeah.
I guess I would add that I think as long as the actual policy doesn't change, I think there is leeway for staff to update the presentation of it if we found that it was being confusing for people trying to access it, or if we were receiving a lot of questions. I think presentation, how it's written can be changed as long as the substance of it isn't. So I think there is some leeway for us to react as we learn how people are digesting this, and if there's a better way of presenting that information. I think administratively we can make those changes as long as we're not deviating from how the council has said to operate the dam.
I guess at this point then, I would move for adoption of City Council Resolution 2671 with the addition of the docket number to the City of Lake Mills Dam Management Policy.
I will second that. Can I make an amendment back to the motioner? That the docket number be added to both the policy and the resolution.
Sorry, and I'll change the motion to the policy and the resolution.
Okay. I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion by Greg Coots and a second by Lisa Curler to accept City Council Resolution 26-71 with the addition of the docket number in the fourth whereas, and also to add the docket number in the purpose section of the policy itself. Okay, any questions about what we are about to vote on? Okay, so let's do a roll call, please.
Ms. Quidnow?
Aye.
Mr. Coots?
Aye.
Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Ms. Curler?
Aye.
Ms. Schmager?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Okay. Next we have Resolution 26-72. Sam, could you read that one, please?
City Council Resolution 26-72, authorizing the Chief of Police to allow parking in a no parking zone on East Lake Park Place for certain events at the Lake Mills High School while undergoing 2026 construction project.
So Chief, I think we're turning this one to you.
Well, good evening. So quick background on this. Dr. Olson, the administrator of the school district, reached out to me a couple weeks ago and saying because of the ongoing construction at the high school campus, which has eliminated 70 parking spots from the lower parking lot, she asked if there was a way to allow parking on the north side of East Lake Park Place, basically along the stretch that abuts the school property there, or abuts the fish hatchery, but across from the school property. That is marked as no parking. It's designated as no parking by ordinance, so rather than me just unilaterally saying, yes, you can park there, I decided I should bring it before this body who passed that ordinance. We discussed a couple of options. One would be an ordinance change, which I don't think is necessary or necessarily appropriate because this is not a permanent change that we're seeking. It's a temporary change during the construction, which would be the duration of this school year. So I thought it was appropriate, along, Dan and I talked about it as well, to say, well, if this body takes action through a resolution to say, yes, we will allow you to not enforce these parking restrictions for this period of time, that I would be satisfied with that, and then the Public Works Director and I could work to accomplish making sure that the no parking signs are covered then for the duration of this construction project.
Any questions? Lisa?
Yes, thank you, Chief. Could you just clarify, is the idea of allowing parking only during events like football games, or would it be for kind of the entire school year?
Well, the request was for during events, football games, but also when they have multiple other events going on at the schools. They've experienced, even in just the football scrimmage last week, that they had a significant number of cars parked on the south. It was completely full on the south side of the roadway. So in communication, they would ask for basically all of their home athletic events. And really from a practical standpoint, as a staff, the time it would take staff to cover the signs, uncover them, cover them, uncover them, I think we would probably cover the signs for the fall sporting schedule, probably uncover them during the winter. There would be no parking allowed, and then potentially cover them again in the spring when there's again outdoor sporting events that people.
I appreciate you bringing that up because it doesn't seem like it worth, your time to be going back and forth, but maybe having them off and no parking in place over the winter with facilitating snow plowing and things like that probably would be a good idea.
Question.
Go ahead, Jim.
Chief, is there any reason for someone to oppose this move? Dangerous or, traffic problems or something what would the con, you're giving us the pro, what's the con?
Yeah, I think the roadway is plenty wide enough to accommodate parking on both sides of the roadway. We had a discussion because I wasn't here when the ordinance was passed in 2013. So I asked staff of do we know why we made it no parking on that side of the roadway?
Right.
The discussion that we had was potentially related to some of the youth soccer events that occur on the east end of the school district property, as they didn't want people parking on the north side of the roadway and then traversing across that roadway with the youth soccer players, or I guess adult fans as well. So from a public safety perspective, does it potentially create a situation where we have pedestrian traffic crossing the roadway, which could be hazardous? It does. It's a 25 mile per hour speed limit on that roadway. It's probably treated like a higher speed limit a lot of the time because it is a wide open roadway. I think generally when you see parking along both sides of the roadway, though, it does calm or slow traffic down naturally, just because people don't feel like they can go as fast through that area. So
there's a principle that you shouldn't take a fence down without knowing why it was put up. You might find out that it's keeping out some vicious animals or something. I wasn't here when the parking regulation restriction was imposed, but we must have had a good reason to impose it, right? Why would?
Yeah, so the reason that the staff is aware of is because of the concern about the with those soccer fields on the east end of the school property, in particular about people crossing the roadway from the north side to those fields and back. So a safety concern about pedestrian traffic crossing that roadway and
Well-
intermingling with traffic.
Well, then, why wouldn't it be appropriate to just change it permanently rather than just during events or whatever that you suggested?
The resolution does state that we are going to evaluate that as an option, so I think
Evaluate it right now.
Well, the process for an ordinance is 3 readings and a much longer and prolonged process versus a temporary solution to a problem that is going to be in effect within the next week or so. There's already events at the school.
We're not deciding upon tonight, you know.
Well, this resolution is really, it's regarding public safety based on a request from the school district to allow your chief of police to direct that a certain ordinance that you've adopted is not enforced for a period of time, really under his discretion. So the ordinance is on the books. It says no parking on the north side of the street. When we discussed it, neither one of us were comfortable saying unilaterally, do not enforce the city council's ordinance. Instead, he's asking for a reprieve, the opportunity to, in his discretion, order non-enforcement of a no parking zone for specific events based on a request from the school district.
An option would be repealing the ordinance.
Certainly.
Yeah, and I think the intent was to learn from this temporary situation and see what our experience is, and then we could change the ordinance if we desire to remove the parking.
Well,
I think that's, because then you need 3 readings, and it's a different,
That's also a permanent solution to a temporary problem.
right.
And back to Mr. Bartlett's initial question, I think there was good purpose and cause for the city to adopt that ordinance at the time that it was adopted. To Chief's statements, it is a wide road. It is known for being faster traffic. There's sidewalks on one side, not on the other side, correct? Or is there sidewalk on the fish hatchery side?
There's both sides.
There's sidewalk on both sides. There are no inner block crosswalks or anything like that. There's no safety mechanism in place. So they just established at some point in time, 2013, I believe, no parking on the north side to avoid possible conflicts between pedestrians and traffic. Those ordinances can always be revisited.
And I would say that, and Mr. Coots mentioned that this is a temporary problem while the school is under construction, where parking is taken away during the construction period, but parking will return to the school property when the construction is complete. So they're not requesting for a longer solution or a longer reprieve from the no parking. They're saying, we see this as being a problem during the school year while the school is under construction, and that those 70 spots on the school property are not available. I don't see a need to extend this longer than what that request is.
Thank you.
I do have a question. I was trying to think about the alternatives for the volume of traffic, and I don't know that, I think my opinion is having parking on that street is better than the alternatives, which are likely wiggling into the neighborhoods or crossing on the other side of 89, because wouldn't that be where the volumes would go? If we didn't have this as a solution?
Games, they're
right.
They're everywhere in those neighborhoods, up and down Main Street, into or west of Main Street towards the lake. Everything fills up. This year, it's exacerbated because there's no lot parking in the school site.
That's what I was thinking.
So-
It'd even be, like, I'm just trying to picture how that extra would be handled if we didn't open this up. And I think there is a,
People can always walk further distances to get
Yeah,
to the
they're
fields,
gonna
plan
have
and
to.
drop off. I mean,
Yeah.
this isn't compulsory, it's a solution for a temporary problem.
yeah. Okay. Any other discussion?
I'll move to approve City Council Resolution 26-72, authorizing the Chief of Police to allow parking in no parking zones on East Lake Park Place for certain events at the Lake Mills High School while undergoing 2026 construction project.
Mr. Coots will second.
Okay, we have a motion by Michelle Quidnow, a second by Greg Coots. Any other questions or discussion? Roll call, please, Sam.
Mr. Coots?
Aye.
Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Ms. Curler?
Aye.
Ms. Schmager?
Aye.
Ms. Quidnow?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you.
Look forward to hearing how it goes in the spring. Or January, whenever you're willing to give us an update. Thank you. Okay, so next we have an update and potential action on Sandy Beach Improvement Project Design. And so I don't know if Drake, you wanted to make a few comments, or would you like me to? add on
I
some
guess I
thoughts?
would just open it to say we had our first kind of design team meeting. I think we went for 3 hours on our first one, so we are, kind of trying to identify areas in which we think we need additional council feedback before we proceed on, and then as well as just kind of laying the groundwork for our goals for the project, as well as, mirroring that with reasonable budgets and cost estimates, and as we try to maintain the aggressive timeline that we've set for to put together a total bid package in the early part of 27 for kind of a build out over a 27-28 time period. So there is a summary included in your packet, and then some things I think we'd like the council to weigh in on as we continue to move through the design process. Mary, would you like to fill in any gaps?
So the only thing I'm going to fill in, so tonight's discussion is to help us move to the 30% concept design place. So this is not the end. This is to give Strand and Mead and Hunt enough more, I would say, peel the onion guidance in order to come up with additional options so that we do not have to rework. We're working as we go rather than saying, oh, no, I want that or didn't want that, when it's already been baked in too far. And so these are early discussions. So because we say we want to confirm something as we see the next iteration, if when we start getting past 30 to 60 and 90, we're going to be, I would say we're more to the permanent marker-ish. But right now we're in pencil. And so we're confirming a few things that were not in the design, but we didn't talk about them. So we want to ask, it wasn't in the design. Are we all in agreement it shouldn't be in the design? And then other things that we should just generally talk about because we haven't talked about them at all. And so the first one, I'll just start with the top. We had talked about 2027 priorities. And we talked about removing the bait shack, new volleyball courts, and the new playground. And so are we still confirming that that's where we are starting with the initial priorities for next year?
Yep. And I would say that's consistent with what we've talked about. I would agree with that. And I know there's 5 of us, but I would say yes, I would confirm that.
I would also say yes to that. I wondered if the removal of the old boat ramp is also on that list, right next to the bait shack. So I don't know if that's in or out. I mean, I think it's out in terms of the plan. I don't know if we had flagged it as a priority.
Okay, so that's a very great question, because my removed bait shack in my brain was the bait shack, the tree, and the old launch all come out. That's the bait shack area, but that's not what our words say. So that's a very good question. And Drake, do you have insight as to what the Mead and Hunt was thinking in regards to that section? Was it pulling those pieces out and essentially making it a solitary one single beach? No?
I think we were planning to, I think it was planned initially to remove it. I cannot say that with confidence, though, at this moment in time.
So what would we like, and let's add that to the discussion, would we like it to be also the launch and the tree, I think is coming, Andrew's working on the tree plan, and I think he had mentioned, I think that one is one that was not staying, location number 1, but health number 2. And so would we like it all to be removed, and we will bring that forward as a part of the 2027, priorities, all 3 of those?
I get that from
Yeah, if it
several
works for
constituents.
2027, yes.
Yep, it's in that same
Wait,
removal area, so
Yeah.
hopefully it would be easy
Okay.
enough.
Okay. This is why we're having this conversation. Thanks, Lisa. Good start. Anything else? Okay, so I,
Want nods or
Yeah, yeah,
objections? I mean, just
So
because
the
we're not
only-
making formal decisions.
the only
but
thing
okay.
the only thing I had thought about after the conversation is, given we're working on the new volleyball, would we be prepared to put in the swings? Since it's in the same, it's just on the west side of the volleyball courts would be the swing area. I don't know if that's adding too much to scope. I know that there was some ideas on possibly using some community funding ideas in order to fund those swings. I don't know if it'll make it for a 2027 spend, but that's the only thing I thought of that was not high cost and might not be high.
Weren't there
Volume.
already swings planned in the one
That's what she's talking about.
that we saw before? You're saying some new swing?
No, these are not the playground swings, but these were bench swings we were putting over by the volleyball courts
Oh,
for
okay,
sunsets,
there's
just the big bench.
Benches.
Yes. So I just, it was a question, we didn't have it on our list, but
I wouldn't-
pushing the envelope maybe.
I don't know that I would want to rush those.
Okay.
They're a great idea, and I don't want to move so fast we mess those up. I think it'd be okay to let some of the other stuff take shape first.
I agree.
Okay.
I think those can be added later.
I agree, and also I was down there for sunset dinner last Thursday night, and there's some nice places on the east area that have great views of the sunset too, and so I don't think we should rule out, I don't think we should be
Stuck on that
stuck on
location.
exactly where those swings are going to be just yet.
Yeah, Mary did mention it, but I had talked at the design committee that we often receive requests to place memorial benches or things of that nature, and so thought maybe we've kind of stopped allowing memorial benches just because we've had so many. We sometimes have them, but we've gotten a lot of requests for them over the years. We've gone more towards like memorial trees when someone requests it, but I thought maybe a handful of these, there might be parties interested in sponsoring a swing or something like that.
That'd be fine.
a good
That
idea.
makes perfect sense. We don't have to pay for them. In fact, you can make a profit off of those things. I know a couple of universities and churches that I've been associated with, in effect, they sell them for about 10 times as much as what they cost the institution to put in there, and they use the money, and people are willing to pay it because they see grandma's name on the thing, and that's fine.
So let's think about it some more and not have it be a 2027 priority, and then
Okay.
those ideas can bubble up.
Good conversation. Next, confirm. The group talked about the bathroom and came to the consensus that we felt collectively that a new bathroom instead of remodeling the old bathroom was in our best interest. And if you look at our goals as a city council that we pulled together, a new bathroom does reconcile with the words that we chose. We talked about new amenities, and so we wanted to, and we would have external rinse showers, like what we had all discussed. So checking that we all can be in support of continuing with the discussion of new versus remodel, because that gives us options for a little bit of location and,
What's the difference in price?
well, that, I don't know, if we have, it's.
I think that there is a bit of an unknown there,
Yeah.
just because of, the additional shower and additional capacity that we're kind of hoping to add from there. So I think I think that renovating and using the existing restroom certainly would be a cost savings. I don't know that I can provide you with what that would be right now. I think in the design team's thoughts were that as the work sessions were occurring, that kind of clean, family-oriented, accessible were some of the words that were used. And I think it's questionable whether we can fully achieve those goals with the existing restroom.
Sometimes it
facility.
costs more to restore an old building than it does to scrape it down and start fresh,
Take it from somebody who has to go into those bathrooms often. They need to be taken down. So, and I see what you're saying about, trying to save money, but no, I think that we need to do a new one.
Even if it would cost significantly more money to put something new in there, that is a spot where I think it is worth the city's time to spend money there.
That's
That
rather
will
like
be
the
a selling
library.
point for people.
I like the library discussion we had. Maybe it's not absolutely necessary, but it makes a huge difference.
It does.
in the city.
I don't have our goals in front of me, but I think accessibility was also an important goal. And so doing something new, also, you raised a really good point, Mary, that it gives, or maybe Drake was the one that said this, it does give more design flexibility because the building could potentially be moved, and that might facilitate, a better layout of other things. So I support new.
Okay, great. Next, if you recall, in our concept, there was not a location for boat fence parking for the summer season. We can use any, generally speaking, a part of parking lots for winter parking, but we did not have a boat fence parking location for the summer season in the concept plan. So the discussion that Drake shared, we have a very small number of participants in that program. It has been waning over the years, and well, I've noticed it is kind of makes it very complicated when they're pulling boats through in a very busy time through the traffic current patterns. But we do not have it in there, and so it was confirming that we do not have it in the future.
Mary, can you help me out, please? What are we talking about with boat fence parking?
So if you go into Sandy Beach right now and you pull in and you have the guard gate to the front, to the right is a reserved section for boats that are sitting there on their trailers.
Okay.
And so they park them there, and it's supposed to give them ease and convenience. They can come in, pull them, launch them, put their trailer back there, and then go out
Okay.
and, on the lake. And so that is it takes a lot of real estate and a
Is there
lot
an
of
extra
parking.
charge for that?
No.
We
You don't have to
charge.
charge?
You have
Do.
you have to pay for it. I think we have I want to say about half a dozen taking advantage of it this year, which is a decline from the past. There was an amendment to the fee schedule for it, and I think there are lower cost alternatives that people are taking advantage of.
I think also, I support not having them. I appreciate hearing that there was a decline. I know I have at least one neighbor who used to do it, and they said, then you have to connect and disconnect your car, and then you still have to find a place for your car to park, so it's not as convenient as they might have thought it would be. So I think the fact that the numbers are declining is a good pointer. I think we should also be mindful, though, that it is a source of revenue, even if it's small.
That was in addition to the boat trailer parking, correct?
In the launch area?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. So, and we have, how many is it? 12 in the boat launch area?
16.
Yes, yeah.
16, 15
16?
plus 180, yeah, 16.
Okay. And
That's regulated by the DNR.
yes, well, okay, so I agree. I don't think that we need those in place.
So I'm confirming then, yes, we are not having boat fence parking for the summer season. We're confirming that, yes, okay. Next, if you recall, Dan, did I miss something? Oh, okay. Next, we have, we started the conversation of golf carts. And if you recall in our concept, we had two, and this will come into play with electrical pedestals also. We had some possible parking lot pieces. We had the part that was to the west and the part that was to the east, and we took out the planning for the park on the east. And there, we had electrical pedestals, but we did not have golf carts in either one of the locations. And so the question is regarding golf carts, do we need a special golf cart parking space? What is our intentions for golf carts in the park? And we can talk about the scope of their use, but it's about the parking lot specifically is where we had the conversation on how to ensure that that parking lot takes into consideration golf carts if we want a spot for them.
Yeah, there's
There wasn't anything
conversations
located.
about dedicated space as well as a roped off crushed limestone corral, kind of where the
To the
parking
east.
lot B to.
To the east.
Yeah,
On the east side.
that's no longer going to be a parking lot immediately. There was conversations about doing something low cost like that, and then it would just kind of be a discussion on management of that and what that looks like. So I think it's a question of is something simple like that attractive to the city council, or are we looking for something more robust?
Can you clarify how exactly it works now? Because I've heard, over the years, some residents of Topol's, which is across the road, that they'll bring their golf carts in and they get a tag of some sort. And then in Sandy Beach, which we administer, I don't know, do they have designated parking spots? Do they pay extra fees? How does it work now?
Nothing.
I'm not aware of a tag system.
For Topol's, whereas they have a tag for it that indicates access to Topol's. You can use that cross path.
But does that
Their
give you?
internal process. Okay.
That's not-
So not a
Okay.
city-related process.
Not a,
to
okay, so
that.
that's just for their property, but not for Sandy Beach, okay.
Accessing off of Sandy Beach Road, correct.
Got it.
I think, I'd say right now there is not a well-defined golf cart parking within Sandy Beach currently, and they tend to congregate in certain areas, but it's not a space that the city has designated as this is where it should occur. There is not a fee associated with it, is to my knowledge at this point. They're not parking in parking stalls. They're typically finding grass spaces in which the golf carts are being parked. And so I guess the answer on a fee or revenue associated with it is no. We do allow them by code to traverse from the mobile home community down to Sandy Beach. It is permissible to do so. But as far as management of them once they get down to the park, I would not say we have a process in place for managing of that currently.
Drake, when they're parked at Sandy Beach, do they have a hang tag?
No,
No.
not currently.
Okay, that's written into ordinance, isn't it?
No.
Not with regard to golf carts specifically, it wasn't really contemplated.
Well, golf carts may only be driven in parks and designated areas. Entrance to Sandy Beach by any golf cart is only permitted by a handicap pass.
That's certainly not enforced at this point in time.
Oh,
So
interesting.
that is,
here
wait a
comes
minute,
Chief.
so I know what that is. That is into the park.
Into
That's
the
to
park,
take them into
right.
the sand.
Right.
So that's into the
That's
sandy.
correct. So-
Sand, it
Well, I
says
know,
Sandy
but I
Beach.
know.
The city does issue a tag for those who show proof of a handicap status to allow them to drop that person off in the actual beach area of the park and then park the golf cart in what we would call the corral or by the volleyball courts.
But it's not required for just, an elderly person who drives down there and parks it and then walks to the beach.
Correct. So they are allowed, and they've been told they are allowed to park golf carts in kind of that cattle fence or fenced-in area by the volleyball courts currently.
No fee required.
Correct.
And
So-
that's been going on for a long time.
Correct. The exception to that are the low-speed vehicles, which look a lot like golf carts, but they're registered as a low-speed vehicle. And the conversation we've had with them is you are a vehicle, you're treated like a vehicle, you don't operate on the sidewalk, and you have to park in the parking lot in a parking stall, and you either have to be registered, so you're exempt from paying the parking fee as a city resident, or you have to pay for parking.
Did you hear the statements from the speakers on this subject in the public speaking time that
Yes.
were? I was persuaded that it was a good idea, but I wasn't sure why it's not allowed already. It sounds like there's no prohibition on taking a cart down there, is it?
Yeah.
Correct. There's a prohibition on it being within the beach area of the park.
Oh, on the
so
beach,
in the
yes, but
fenced
not,
area.
not
but
just
they
to
are-
drive down to the area where you normally would park a car. and
Correct.
Get out and walk,
Correct. But they can't park in the parking stall without paying. They would have to park within that fenced-in volleyball court area currently.
And I might have missed this, but how much room is there now without paying a parking fee to park a golf cart?
It's free.
How much room, how many golf carts could you line up?
there were-
As many as want to park there, I would imagine. I don't know that they've
32 of
ever
them
run
one
out of room.
Saturday when I was down there.
Yeah.
So I think we have an opportunity to look at a policy in the future. So I happen to have had a lot of inquiries and complaints about golf carts. I think people are going to the itty bitty barbecue, and they've never been down there in a long time, and they're noticing golf carts cruising around, and I think some of them are envious and some of them are frustrated, and there's a whole bunch of things. So my personal perspective is I really think that I like the idea of a parking over on the east side, low, like, you know, nothing fancy, that just but a nice, good parking spot. I think we should come up with strong policies and or ordinances on how we want golf carts to work. And things even such as coming down and getting a tag and every year having to register, and maybe we monetize it, maybe we don't. And they get safety rules, and we have safety parameters. I think that there's been very little care for safety. There were 8 people on a 4-person golf cart. There's kids on laps, there's open intoxicants. There are kids under the age of 16 driving them. And I don't know how we enforce it, but I think the people who own these specialty devices, there's only 200 mobile homes in that whole area that can have these, and maybe some Sandy Beach folks, so 220 on Sandy Beach Road. And I think they need accountability for safety, because to me, I would say none. Like, I really, when I watch what goes on down there, I am really not happy about it, but I know we have this resort community. I feel like I'd rather have them driving across with their golf cart than putting exhaust from their cars in the air and driving around with their cars. I don't think that's the right solution. But I would like us to really come up with very good policies on safety and location, where they can go, where they can't go, and make sure it's transparent to our citizens so they understand, and that we then have enforcement so our CSOs kind of, and everyone knows like what is and what is not accepted down there, and make it a really good experience in the park for these carts. If we decide to keep them, I think they're part of the resort community, and so I don't want to, you know, I think we just have to find a way to make them so that it's balanced with the fairness of all the citizens who don't get a chance to drive them into the park and have the best, like, I wouldn't put them in the front because that's the best parking spot, because our citizens deserve those front parking spots, but I think they need to be a part of the plan. And so I like the parking edge, but I think we really need a very strong set of what we're expecting from these folks.
I have a question for you. And one of the points that Mary was making was getting the tags, okay? They don't have license plates or any form of a way to identify which one has the tag, which one doesn't have the tag. The tag could probably get moved from one to the other, is that right?
Do a sticker.
Yeah, I could. I mean, you could make them identify the golf courts by their site identification, you know, that they rent the trailer from, or something to that effect. Tobles does require that for their residents, that they mark their golf carts with their site. At the end of the day, most likely there will be an exemption to the parking fee for these folks because they are considered residents, so they would be able to register their vehicles and/or golf cart. So I'm not as concerned about identifying whether the cart is registered or not. I guess I would make the assumption of they're not driving it from Watertown here, so they're probably a city resident.
I would like to see us monetize the registration of the golf cart. It's a specialty resort vehicle, and they can register, their cars are free.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, something to think about. Like, we're not making that decision today. I think we need to just digest it, like a plan for how we handle those carts. That's all. And today's not the day, but I just think the parking, I think we should consider in the plan. Lisa?
I agree with you that we should have further conversation about policy. I think there may be something in the leases, Dan would probably remember better than me, related to that they're supposed to be sort of self-patrolling and self-enforcing their golf cart behavior. I think there is kind of a designated area, like you said, Chief, by the volleyball courts. I think it's I agree that it could be monetized or it could be worked into the, you're a resident, you get 2 vehicles if you rent a, mobile home at Sandy Beach, but we have to figure all that out. I think one thing I've come to believe over the last 5 years being on the council and looking at this park redevelopment is it used to be a private resort and golf carts and all of that behavior was a common part of it. Now we've been transitioning every year more and more to lots of other people using it that aren't the mobile home renters, and so there's potential conflicts there. And so I think we're trying to make this also a place that we want city residents and visitors to enjoy, and so we need to grapple with this. But if we need some direction for staff tonight, I support the idea of using that east area that's not going to be a parking lot in the short term and maybe putting in something temporary so that there's a clear place for them to park.
I won't comment on location of it, but I would agree it would help to have a designated area for my staff to be able to know where are they allowed, where are they not allowed. So what are we enforcing?
Yeah.
And if I could clarify, recall on the concept, there was the golf cart path was coming across, and this would be adjacent to the golf cart path to the east. That's what in the concept plan where the team was kind of proposing. So this would be, they come across the path would continue to be on the edge of the parking, and they would be right off of that to the east, which would, I think, be an ideal, safety place. They wouldn't have to cut through the parking lot to get to anywhere special. That's what was being proposed. Again, this is 30% concept, so they'll draw it in, and when you see it, we all can react to it, whether we think it's the right place. Look at it when September 1 is, if you notice in the notes, is when they're planning for the next concept drawing.
Mary Jim had a comment.
Yes,
Oh,
Jim?
the question I have goes to need for regulation, but we're not discussing that tonight, just where they're going to park.
Yeah, if we support parking to be a part of the plan, because it wasn't in the concept plan, so if we want golf cart parking, we need to let them know. And so this was just to confirm where we would like some golf cart parking.
I definitely favor the.
City council supports us bringing forward a plan for a designated area in which
Yes.
golf cart parking would be as part of the Sandy Beach Improvement Project.
Yep. Just confirming that, because it wasn't in the concept, so we wanted to check. Okay. And then the last one was electrical pedestals. So if you recall, that was a swing out on the north side of the Part B parking that we took out of scope. And they still had it drawn in as keeping the pedestal, so they were still doing a pedestal swing on the concept, and we're checking to see if the investment in electrical pedestals was in or out of scope. I didn't see that it was in. I thought it was out since we took Part B out. So it's just checking whether we want electric pedestals.
If we wanted to move electric pedestals to the existing parking lot that's being designed, that would potentially make sense if you want to have charging stations there. But I would agree that I think it's kind of out of scope for the B parking lot that's not going to be designed yet.
Yeah, we could look at alternative locations. There were some ideas kind of tossed around,
the
but I
road?
guess that,
Still want them.
I guess from the concept that was presented, the council believes that kind of curbside area that had the pedestals and kind of a location for a food truck to hook up to if an event was going, that was removed as part of the elimination of Part B. That's kind of what we're confirming. We can still look at if there's opportunities elsewhere for a pedestal to go in, or maybe it just doesn't make it.
So Drake, is the pedestal, is that for charging electric vehicles or is that for food trucks?
Be for if an event was
Sorry, I
taking
get it now.
place, a festival of some kind in which we wanted to invite a host of vendors.
I get it
You'd
now.
be able to hook up to an electrical connection and not need to run a generator.
To Greg's question.
Could be city EVs or something like that.
You could earn revenue by putting some of these electrical charging stations that charge. You got to put a credit card in it, and you pay for the electricity, plus, maybe a small profit for.
Oh, you're talking about for electric cars, or we're talking about electrical pedestals for food trucks?
Yeah.
Do we want them or not? I guess
I
that's the
messed it up.
question. In the first, do we want them in the concept?
Yeah.
For food trucks?
I'm okay with the concept being wide open over there for right now. I don't have any plans. I don't know what it's going to be right now, so I'm okay with taking everything out.
So the idea would be there would be no electric pedestals in the new parking lot.
We can look for
Adjourn-
ideas,
vent.
but that section would be gone. So if there was an alternative solution, we could bring that forward, but that section that was dedicated in the concept, we would count as removed with the elimination of parking lot part B, excuse me.
And would
That's
it,
because I haven't had the experience. Are there events held down there where a band wants to play and all because they need power?
Historically, yes. Recently, no.
Because there's no power?
Well, right
Not
now,
because
that's,
of that,
right now, that's a trailer park.
right? That area.
Yeah.
that area, yeah.
Where the music was set up or whatever?
No, no.
No,
No.
historically, there was an event called Farewell to Summer that was housed on the west end of the park itself, near the beach.
Had the boats?
And there was a fish boil that went along with it. That stopped in the early to mid-2000s, so it probably hasn't occurred for about 20 years.
20 years,
I
yeah.
think infrastructure like these contemplated pedestals would be in the event that we start trying to accommodate such events again in the future.
Yeah.
I guess my only thought would be to that end, the things that we are going to be building in the next year or two, like would we want to have the opportunity to have a small band playing next to the pavilion, for example, and would they need electricity? So just thinking about those kind of uses, whether maybe the concession building has enough resources for that. And then the other thing would be, is there anything that city staff would need a pedestal for any
Yeah,
equipment or anything?
I think that those conversations can still occur. I think really what the design team is seeking is that dedicated space that was going to be kind of
For food trucks.
for a food truck festival kind of area it has been eliminated. I think we will certainly look for what opportunities for electrical connections throughout the park may be in our best interest, or if there's other locations for pedestals that that aren't part of that eliminated eastern portion of that concept. I think that can all still be discussed, but I think right now we're kind of just that dedicated space was that part of the elimination of parking lot B, and if the council says yes, then we move in
would take
that
it out.
direction.
Okay, I want clarifying. We are taking out that, but we are going to keep the electric pedestals so that, no. See, I'm wondering if we are not preparing for the potential of food trucks that could be a thing and eliminating that possibility altogether in making this decision. That's my worry.
Yeah, and if you plan someday to have electric power there, you're gonna have to tear up the parking lot to put the wires underground, and you should, if you can plan ahead, then it saves money because you pave over
Right.
it.
So I guess what the design team can do is we can talk about potential pedestal locations that are not in that area that is part of where that parking lot B is, if they make sense, if we can find areas that would work for them, where they might be able to be incorporated, and we can continue that conversation on at that level. But I guess at this point, we won't have kind of that random right turn, it would be, into
Yeah.
kind of a pedestal area.
Okay.
And it's not to say that in the future, we're looking at a very short period of time here, at 2027 and at 2028, with a significant amount of land that is currently going unprogrammed. It's not that nothing may never occur there, or that there's not other opportunities that will exist in the future, or that additional improvements might not be able to occur in future years. So it may not be a hard no, it might just be a not yet, or it could be incorporated into something else in the future.
That's kind of how I feel, is sort of a not yet. And I think we've had a guiding principle since I've been on the council, like, let's not build the parking lot and then have to tear it up later
Right.
for something. So as long as we're not doing that, If we can do electric pedestals where we need them 2, 3, 4 years from now, that sounds good.
Greg, can you support that? Because you were on a kind of not feeling they were like on your radar screen currently. So could you support that
Yeah.
we kind
No,
of
that's
investigate
fine,
them
too.
a little further and,
Yeah,
okay, just checking. Okay.
We could put like a little gas station there for people to gas up their golf carts when they're parked.
There used to be a gas station for both.
Electric charging.
burning gas on the shore.
Oh, boy.
Yep.
So just as a bit of
Gas in your
history
boats,
for you.
gas in your
Makes
golf
sense.
carts.
That makes sense.
Could use like one of the.
Gas up like a chainsaw down there.
No.
Some trees.
Tanks anymore, so it would require a lot of permitting.
Yeah. I don't think we want to do that.
What happened to the old leaky tank that was underneath the,
Yeah,
that was
Greg,
underneath
Greg,
the
Greg,
Walgreens?
Greg, you're
Quiet.
getting off.
Not talking about.
Great.
What do we ever do with that?
Are we good then,
Okay,
Mary?
yes, so I should just say, do you have any questions for me or Drake regarding they were super high level notes, but it was a 3-hour meeting and essentially it was some lengthy and some very short conversations of all those topics. And so is there anything that caught your eye that you wanted to know more about? Before and it will be on the next, September 1st is intended to be the update on the next concept photo or picture and details, so.
Thank you for meeting for 3 hours and putting in the time to get to these points. And the one thing that stood out to me was thank you to Andrew, I guess, for getting that tree survey as far along as it is, because I know that was something that seemed like it was kind of looming for a while, and the fact that it's just moving right along with him, that's terrific.
And then you also notice, we will need a working session soon on the concession pavilion. That is a lot of possibilities, and we all probably have a vision of what it can and can't be, should and shouldn't be. And so I think we'll know more maybe at the next working meeting, but I'm expecting maybe September might be time when we need to get in and brainstorm and give parameters, because I know Mead and Hunt is looking they had some schematics that they were working with some vendors on. And it'll be a test place for us possibly, but we also should give them some grassroots ideas, I think.
If we could get some potential dates and line up a date on that sooner rather than later would be good. I'm going to be traveling late September, early October, so just want to make sure.
Okay.
Get it on the calendar.
Awesome. Okay, so we're going to move on we have a second reading on ordinance 1295. So Sam, could you read that, please?
Ordinance 1295, amending the City of Lake Mills Code, Chapter 660, Attachment 2, Table of Bulk Regulations, R3-12- Minimum Floor Area.
Okay. So thank you. That was a second reading, so that will come on as a third reading next agenda. Next, we have a second reading on ordinance 1296. Could you read that one, please, Sam?
Ordinance 1296, amending the City of Lake Mills Code, Chapter 660, Zoning Regulations, 660-41, Off-Street Parking, Table 2.4, Specific Off-Street Parking Requirements, Apartments, Minimum Required Spaces.
Okay, thank you. And our last course of business is ordinance 1297. This is our third reading, so could you read this one, please, Sam?
Ordinance 1297, amending the City of Lake Mills Ordinance 660-44, Official Zoning Map, City of Lake Mills, Wisconsin, Parcel Identification Number 246-0714181400, owner Real Hope Community Church, 1345 Stonehenge Lane, Lake Mills, Wisconsin.
And this has been in front of us multiple times before. I would move for adoption of ordinance 1297 as written.
Second.
A motion by Greg Coots, a second by Lisa Curler. So any comments, questions on this before we do roll call vote, please?
Did you say roll call?
Roll call, please,
Okay.
yeah.
Sorry, that kind of threw me. Mr. Bartlett?
Aye.
Ms. Curler?
Aye.
Ms. Schmager?
Aye.
Ms. Quidnow?
Aye.
Mr. Coots?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0.
Great, thank you. Next, we have announcements and recommendations for future agendas.
CIP first meeting in September, initial budget presentation, second meeting in September, which then would precipitate the first reading of the budget at the first meeting in October. So we're in the budgeting season again.
Woohoo. Thank you. I have a few reminders. One, we do have one library board opening and an upcoming parks board opening. I have one applicant for each, but I would just like to ask, City Council one more round of, do your outreach for any citizens who are interested in serving on those boards. I want to also thank Dan Drescher. He's been working on all the great materials for administering the pay for performance process. And so thank you, Dan, for your work on that. And so he'll be sending out a memo that has dates and action items. And so that process will be coming forward with some dates in September. And so if you could keep your eye on that coming from Dan, and the materials for the performance review process. And Jim, since this is your first round, I'll be happy to sit down with you if you have any questions on the process or any of the materials that you receive.
Okay,
And I'm sure
well-
Dan also would be open to discuss
Yeah.
anything.
Well, I
Because
can just
you'll get the handbook and other things that are pertinent to the city manager's role coming your way. And then I mentioned September 1st is the next round of the refined concept plan. And then there was a comment on e-scooters and e-bikes earlier, and I have been working with Chief Schroeder on and trying to wind the e-scooter into the bike, current bike ordinance, and so that, we got some work going on that. Oh, nope.
You're working on changing ordinances?
Well, I have this now, and there is a ton of conversation regionally on like the municipal attorneys listservs and stuff that I'm on about this specific topic. Chief Schroeder brought it to my attention. We had originally kind of contemplated adding e-bikes to our bicycle section. There is state statute that is specifically on point with regard to activities that are allowed with regard to certain vehicles. This is an area that is changing quickly, just with the proliferation of such vehicles. So I think that there's going to be development, and there will be some ordinance and some changes that are presented to you at some point. I'm shooting for sometime in September, but I've been intrigued by the conversation on the listserv. A number of municipalities are addressing this right now, so I'm kind of auditing those, and we'll come up with decent code for your consideration.
All right. If possible, and if it doesn't break open meeting, I'd like to be involved in any of those ordinances
We're
as
going to
they're
need a
being
sponsor
developed.
for the ordinance, so if you want to work on it through the process, it appears that Mary has some interest as well.
Okay.
So both of you can work with myself and with Chief Schroeder on it.
Okay.
Yeah, I just picked it up from when Drake had sent out the McFarland's a while back, and I thought, oh, this would be something to entertain, and so I just started the conversation, so thanks, Dan, for giving it some,
Well,
a lot of look,
Yeah.
so we can.
I'm not sure that we're coming at it from the same point of view necessarily.
I don't know that we're not. It's a contemporary issue. You're going to see regulation on this. You're going to.
Yes.
From a state standpoint at least. So where the city exercises its home rules, what the city is interested in allowing is a fair consideration. Whether or not any restrictions are appropriate to put in place on such vehicles is a fair consideration right now, but you're going to see development on this issue from a state and from a regional capacity right now.
Yeah, this overlaps with my day job.
Yeah, we'll talk on that one.
Yep.
And then I just want to mention that in September 15th meeting, we will have, there will be the full summer information from the Park X, so from Memorial Day through Labor Day. Also, information from some of the food trucks and their successes or lack thereof. And so September 15th meeting, we'll talk about, I know there's some interest in the changing of the evening or other parking parameters down at Sandy Beach. So that'll be on the September 15th agenda. And that's what I had. Anyone else on announcements or recommendations
Yes.
for agenda? Jim?
At a future time to be set by the chair, I'll be sponsoring a resolution regarding parking enforcement at Sandy Beach.
Yep, that's on the September 15th.
Oh, okay.
Yep, that's the one I just
15
announced.
September.
Yep.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
That's all.
Okay, well then I will call this meeting adjourned. It is 8:48. Thanks, everyone.
Excellent. Excellent.
Okay. Okay, and I have your comment sheet here too.
Now, Mary, does that take 3 readings or whatever?
The one that you're bringing forward?
Yeah.
No, it's not a free reading. It's a resolution, single.
Okay.
We can make,
Not an
we can
ordinance.
make that decision. Nope, we can make that decision at that meeting.